All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Week 8 Big Dogs on Campus show. And,
Arr, arr.
you know, joining me this morning is, well, I don't think he needs any introduction, Mr. UCLA himself, Big Dog Anthony. Mr.
What's up?
AC, how are you today?
What's up, big fella, man? I'm ready. I'm ready. I look at the schedule of games today. I'm ready, including them Bruins versus them Ducks.
Yes, sir. I mean, college game days there. It seems like the entire college football world is tuning in to Autzen Stadium. So, I mean, if everybody else is there, why shouldn't we start there? So, I mean, just kind of looking at everything, I know a lot of people, they're starting to look because apparently there's supposed to be some kind of a little bit of a thunderstorm, or I don't know if it's a fog. I don't understand the weather in the Pacific Northwest. I don't claim to know the weather in the Pacific Northwest. But what I do know is that Chip Kelly is finally coming home for your Bruins, and both teams are coming off a bye. So, I mean, obviously, with you being Mr. UCLA here, what exactly has worked well for UCLA leading up to this moment, and what's going to carry them the rest of the way through this Pac 12 schedule, especially focusing on today?
Well, since Chip got to UCLA, he's been crying about having a team that was too young. And this team is well versed. This team is a veteran team. Am I lagging a little bit? I can't
You,
see.
yeah, you are a little bit on my
Let me
side.
see if
I
I
can
can
hear
fix.
you.
Let me see if I can fix this. I'm gonna have to go with a hard line. This is irritating to me, but if you can hear me,
Mhm.
DTR being the 7th year senior, he is 8th year senior.
The entire 2010s decade senior, if you want to call it that.
Right. I mean, and we're a portal team. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that. We're a portal team, and in order to be, I got a hard line now. Let's see if it kicks in.
Okay.
Um, in order to be a consistent offense, it has to be
Hmm.
continuity, it has to be familiarity, and it has to be kids who are comfortable in what we're doing. And that's when you play fast. You play fast when you're not thinking. And I think up until this point, DTR has been thinking a lot. But now you see a different quarterback. He is reminiscent of Jalen Hurts when he figured it out. Just kind of being efficient, kind of getting the ball to his crossing routes. And now he has a running game behind him with Zach Charbonnet. So it should be a different UCLA team because this UCLA team has not beaten Oregon in Autzen Stadium since these kids were born, like 17, 18 years ago. So this is a huge game, and I'm glad the game day guys are there. But it's going to be a few key things that I'm watching, and it starts with defense. If both of these teams are averaging 40 points a game, who's going to get a stop? And that's kind of where my head is at. Who's going to play some defense? I know they're going to score. I don't want to see a track meet the whole game. I want to see somebody make a stop here and there, and then see if the Bruins can shock the Ducks and Autzen.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you're looking at pure similarities between your guy DTR there and Bo Nix. I mean, it seems like he's in a fifth year, 6 year, 7 year run as well, with all of his years there at Auburn and now obviously leading the Ducks to what is currently number 10. But I mean, you look at both quarterbacks, Nix and DTR, they've both thrown for over 1,500 yards. I think DTR is leading the way in that category with 15 touchdowns compared to uh, DTR's 12. But um, gosh, I'm trying to think because I just had it, and then I also think Nix is leading the way a little bit with rushing as well between the two quarterbacks. by a little bit over 100. But I think it's going to be a very slug it out, drag it out type of game, simply because, both teams have, the top two rushing offenses in the Pac 12, but they also both have the top 12 or top two rushing defenses as well. So I think it could be a very close type of slug it out type of game. But I also think, there's going to be those chances where you could see both offenses air it out. And I know DTR, he's been a little better in my opinion, as far as throwing the rock around. Now, obviously, we've highlighted everything that UCLA can do well. What do you think UCLA needs to prevent in order to keep this undefeated train going? Oh, I think I have you still. Anthony, are you able to hear me, buddy?
There you go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, now is that I think it's still got a lag with the
Hmm.
video. Let me see if I can lower my thing. But no, what UCLA can't do is be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the game, being in a hostile environment, Chip Kelly coming home, and just getting overwhelmed by it being a game day, ESPN game day, getting ahead of themselves, um, and realizing that, because everybody knows Pac-12 teams kill each other. And right now we have an opportunity. If UCLA wins out, we have a small chance to even sneak up in the BCS top four. But with USC looming with the loss already, and today's big game, it's the magnitude. Are these guys prepared to play in a game this big? You hear the UW game 2 weeks ago, well, 3 weeks ago, and then the Utah game. Hopefully, that's prepared us for a game this big. Again, there's no substitution for experience, and what this team has is experience. Now, is it experience playing in a big game like this? We'll see. But it's just the magnitude. Can Chip Kelly get his guys to play big time in a big time game? And that's something you never know how kids are going to respond, how kids are going to play in an environment where you're the game, you're the entertainment for the nation at that moment in time. It's a 12:30 kickoff out here in the West, and it's just a matter of who can play. Now, my key to the game is the defense, and then can Zach Charbonnet run for 100 yards? If Zach Charbonnet can run for 100 yards, you said I'm going to be in good shape. I'm pretty sure DTR is going to put up his numbers. Bo Nick's going to put up his numbers. It's just who can execute, who can finish plays, and who can finish drives. And then the special teams play will be huge. Who can make a play in special teams? So it's a lot of talented guys around on both sides of the ball, and both teams have a ton of transfers, and it should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, like you said, if Charbonnet can definitely get his legs going, get over century mark on that Oregon rush defense, I definitely agree, and I do believe that UCLA will, have a solid advantage there. So, I, I mean, as far as the points go, gosh, I know I was talking with one of my friends earlier in saying that, I just don't know if either team's really going to break away in this game. Meaning, I don't see this being more than a 10-point game really at any point during the game at all. And, we were talking about it. And, if UCLA can win by, a solid 10, 14 points here, we think that, it could very well shoot them up a little bit closer to, potentially starting maybe in the top six, or, if chaos happens, possibly starting in the top four for the college football playoff ranking. So, but obviously, with the win over Oregon, I know you guys are going to definitely be in the driver's seat for the Pac 12. Do you see any other hiccups coming in the way, or do you really think that this is going to be your biggest test on the way to potentially, a Rose Bowl bid, or, even a college football playoff bid?
If we get past Oregon, like you said, if a team breaks away, I think we have the potential to have a high scoring game similar to the Alabama Tennessee game last week. If we can find a way to win this game, um, all worlds head to the SC game. SC UCLA will be a bigger. I mean, I wish SC would have been undefeated when we came together to play, but that's it. I mean, that's the game every year. I still believe it's one of a big, if not the biggest rivalry in college football, at least on the West Coast. It is for me. Having played in it 4 times, it's just a huge game with two schools down the street from each other, and all the LA kids that have played against each other all our lives. And this time it means something. A little bit different flavor with all the transfers, all the imports. But UCLA, for the most part, with DTR being, a recruit out of Vegas and being there for the 5 years, and all the kids that Chip Kelly brought in from the portal. This is it. I mean, it's almost like UCLA 1988 when we were number 1 in the country with Troy Aikman and those guys, Arbuckle and Gaston Green. We got to do something while the cupboard is full. Otherwise, we continue to hear we're too young and it's not the time. So that SC game, I mean, I would say regardless of what happens today, but I would love for us to pull this one out and still be undefeated going into the SC game so we can finally see, are we for real? My buddy called me 2 weeks ago. Hey, man, the Bruins for real? I'm like, why? He's, I'm about to put some big money on them. I'm like, oh, hold on, man. Don't put no big money on them. Don't put big money on them just yet. We don't know if they're the truth. And then they went out and blew out Washington. Well, Washington came back, but, they got them early. So, I'm still waiting to see this team for real. And I think 2 weeks in a row have proven that coming off a bye, both teams. We'll see who's prepared. We'll see who's ready to play. This game and the game versus SC. Now the Cal game at the end, I think we have enough to just line up and beat them. But these 2 games would be huge.
Yeah, I agree, because just kind of looking at your guys' schedule after you guys are done up there at Autzen, I know you guys go back home for Stanford, and then you bring in both and then you get the Arizona teams back to back before SC. So should be a pretty solid matchup there for sure. But I mean, if we want to talk another big game, I think we got to go with the only game where there's 2 undefeated ranked teams going against each other, with the very surprising Syracuse Orange sitting there 6-0, sitting at number 14, heading into Clemson. Obviously, we all know what Clemson and Dabo and DJ Uyunglele, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I apologize if I botched that. But, talking at least for the Syracuse side, this has been a team where I really don't think a lot of people were expecting them to really be the class of the ACC. But, I mean, kudos to the head coach for leading them. I mean, shoot, I think right now their offense is humming almost as well as Clemson's, if not maybe 2 or 3 points behind there. And then on defense, defensively, they're allowing 70 less yards per game right now. So, I mean, right now, Syracuse, they're only allowing maybe 100 yards on the ground per game. And, Clemson, they're only allowing, 80 to 85. So, I believe you're still here with me, but if you are, what do you think Syracuse has to do to really potentially surprise the college football world and stop Dabo, stop DJ, and get this, ACC respect?
Well, I'm gonna turn off my camera because I got a little lag and it's driving me nuts. I might have to log on and log back off, but I can give an answer to this. Coach Dino Babers, man, he's brought in something that goes overlooked sometimes, and it's the culture. And the team has taken upon themselves to change the culture. It's not something we haven't seen since Dick McNabb was a quarterback at Syracuse. All season workouts he talked about the kids taking ownership, taking responsibility, getting extra workouts in. And when you hear stuff like that, you almost sit back and say, we might have a special team. And when you have a special team, you're primed for special moments like this. Now I'm pulling for DJ Uiagalelei. I know his dad. They're California kids. So I'm pulling for him. He's my dark horse for the Heisman, and he's having a great year with 1,600 yards, 17 tubs, and only 2 picks with 76.3 passer rating. So I believe Clemson should be able to win as a 14-point favorite, but I do believe Syracuse has the formula to create an upset special. Am I picking it? Am I betting my $2, my $2 bet? No, I'm not betting my $2 bet on Syracuse going and beating Clemson at home. So what could they do? I mean, I don't want to say play a perfect game, but play a game without any senseless turnovers and playing some style defense. And if they can stop Will Shipley, if they can hold Will Shipley under 100 yards, if they came in and I mean, yes, DJ's having a great year, but if you can't stop the run, I don't know if you have much of a chance versus Clemson. So make him a one-dimensional team. I think they have a chance down there. Also, kind of partial. Syracuse has a receiver, former teammate of mine, Arondé Gatson. His son, Arondé Gatson II, is tearing it up. So I think he should have he has an opportunity to make a big imprint on this game at the receiver position for Syracuse. And I hope the Clemson DBs are prepared for it. He's a big boy, 6'5", 215. But at the same time, again, Clemson may be a little too deep. We'll see what Coach Dino Babers did in recruiting, if he can handle. That's what it usually comes down to when you play against an SEC team down in the South that has all those big boys. Can you handle the trenches? And that's where my eyes will be when I watch that game.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I mean, talking about Gadsden there, I believe he's actually the first ACC receiver, at least this season, to have 3 games of 100+ yards receiving. So, I mean, he's obviously going to be Schrader's largest target. And I mean, this is no slight against Garrett Schrader at all. I mean, he's top 5 in the ACC, top 25 nationally, with his completion percentage, his efficiency, his passing yards per attempt. So he likes airing it out. And it's not like he's any kind of a slouch either. But on Clemson, on their defensive side of the ball, you got to look at their defensive end, Miles Murphy. I mean, he's leading the Clemson defense with 5 sacks. He's third on the team with 3 pass breakups. I mean, he's an absolute menace to society here. So, I mean, I'd love to see what Syracuse can do against that. I mean, I believe, Clemson's got some kind of a weird home streak in the ACC. I think they're at like 35, 36, 37 straight ACC wins at home. So, I mean, I'd call this the Death Valley 2.0 because we'll get to the true Death Valley here in a little bit. But, I mean, I think they could – I mean, it is so hard playing on the road in Davo with DJ and, obviously Will Shipley. I mean, that cat – I don't know what it is about his size, but he reminds me almost a little bit of like – a Run CMC, but a Reggie Bush combo in just his elusiveness, but his power. It's just a fantastic joy to watch. So, but yeah, I mean, I love the Syracuse story. I think it's a great story, but it's hard for me to go against Clemson in this matchup. It really is. So it's just there's so much riding on the line. Now, granted, again, that Syracuse defense, they're only allowing 13 points a game. So, I mean, if we're going to talk power versus power, it's going to be the Syracuse defense against the Clemson offense. I just really don't know if Syracuse will have enough. They may be able to keep it close, but, I definitely see Clemson walking away with this one as well.
I agree. I mean, like I said, but the formula is there. Leadership in the locker room. So if the culture is right, it might be the upset special. I mean, no one's checking for Syracuse. So let's see if Clemson is. Let's see if Dabo got his team ready to go.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, but another team that would probably, I would think, have all guns firing, especially after how last week ended, would be Alabama coming back home. I still don't know if they've gotten over the color orange. I think that might actually be banned in that area for life after last Saturday's probably so far game of the year, in my opinion.
Well, at least they
So
play against a team with the same colors. So they play against Mississippi State, so they should feel like practice.
yeah, honestly, it might look like practice on the field too. So, but I mean, is there really any shot for Will Rogers and this Bulldogs team to make any kind of noise against Bama on the road?
Yeah, I mean they score points, and you're coming off a shell shock, maybe punch drunk Alabama team who's probably still in shock, going down to Knoxville and feeling what they felt. I mean, I know they won some. I mean, I don't know the stat. How many times has Nick Saban ever lost 2 games in a row? I think it's probably a really astronomical number. He's probably never lost 2 games in a row. I might bet my $2 on that.
There you
If
go.
he did lose 2 in a row, they're probably the SEC championship game and the national championship game or something like that. But it's going to be very, very tough. But you figure how many points Mike Leach's team put up and how many yards Will Rogers has put up, over 2,000 yards already, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, fourth in the nation. And then you got the most efficient quarterback in the nation, in Bryce Young. Even though his numbers may not say it, 1,600 yards, 86.1 passer rating, is still the Heisman Trophy winner. And he's coming off a little shoulder injury, but he looked phenomenal in the Tennessee game. So I think he's fine. I've had the same injury, so it's something you can manage. But if they have a chance, it had to be a track meet. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to stop Bryce Young and the Alabama offense. As you can see, they can score 50 points when they get ready if they air it out. Because when Alabama has a quarterback, they're deadly. They're scary. They have 5-star receivers all over the place, 5-star tight ends. But Mississippi State has enough offense to outscore. But can they stop the Crimson Tide is the question. So, and then if you don't control the ball, I don't think Mike Leach has ever done a good job controlling the football as far as running the ball, running the clock, and controlling possessions. He's always been a guy, let's just score. He did the same thing at Washington State. And you end up with a track meet, and at the end of a track meet, you hope the ball falls on the ground. Similar to the Tennessee game last week with Alabama, when Tennessee just dropped the ball in the backfield and just sat there for 5 minutes, and then Bama scooped in the score. Is that going to happen today in this game? Is Mississippi State going to have a fortunate situation? And I don't wish injury on anybody, but you think, injuries happen. Anything can happen in any given Sunday, but this is a Saturday game, luckily. So we don't know what we're going to get, but I just know there is a chance. There's a puncher's chance Mississippi State can upset Bama. Am I willing to bet my $2? No. Give me Bama. Give me Bama by 20. Give me Bama by 21.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Mike Leach, and this goes all the way back even to his Texas Tech days. He's always run air raid. Texas Tech, obviously the Big 12, we know that they've been notorious for no defense. The Pac-12, I mean, what he was able to do out there with Washington State was nothing short of spectacular that one season where they ended up cracking the top 10. But again, it was all air raid. And we're seeing that again this year because, I mean, again, look at the rushing yards per game. It's under 100. That's almost unheard of in today's society. Well, especially with college ball. Yeah, like you've got to have some kind of a run game because at this point, you're going to be seeing Kool-Aid McKinstry just sitting back there licking his chops. Now, granted, Will Rogers is a very fine quarterback. I believe he's going to be probably one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks taken in next year's draft. I think he's got all the great intangibles that, a good SEC quarterback will have. But that Alabama defense, if that secondary is humming, I think they're going to be great. Now, granted, I think the Tennessee receiver, God, I cannot remember his name to save the life of me, but he put up the Moss-like Thanksgiving game, 6 catches, 5 tutties, and 200 plus. I just don't know, say if Thomas can pull out those kind of numbers like that. But, I think Alabama, they could eventually be lulled to sleep with the pass. So maybe Rodgers gets a few, but, kind of the same situation. Bryce Young, as good as he is, I mean, honestly, I think I probably still have him as my Heisman favorite right now, simply because of how efficient he has been, how
Yeah.
efficient he continues to be. Even with the injury, and playing through it last week against Tennessee, he still looked great.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just going to be a very nice slate of quarterback matchups here, but kind of like what you said with the two Bucks here, Alabama, do we really think that they're going to blow two in a row? There's no way.
No.
I think I don't think Saban's ever lost two in a row at Alabama ever since he
Yeah.
took over back in 2008 or 2009, and I think that might even go back to his LSU days before that. So it's very minimal chance that
Yeah.
happens here, but I
Very
mean,
small.
but I don't know about the whole 21 point thing, because I do believe that Will Rogers can, because I
Yeah,
do
you
think
laid it up.
Rogers can sling it. I think that they're going to get their opportunities. I think that they can cash in on them. But again, if we're looking at the turnover battle here, Alabama, they're known for those scoop and scores. They're known for their pick sixes. Their defense is almost close to a secondary offense, and that's slightly terrifying to think about. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't see an upset there. But where I do see an upset, as much as it almost halfway pains me to say it, because I am from Mississippi originally, and it would be nice to see a Mississippi team actually go more than 7 wins at some point in my lifetime undefeated. Because the last time Ole Miss started 8-0 was 1962. But
Sheesh.
I mean, you're going down to Baton Rouge, and I understand that this game's not at night, but if you're number 7 in the country and you're still not favored at all, what
Right.
does that say about LSU? What does that say about Jaden Daniels?
Yeah. It just says that no one really believes that the way he plays is sustainable winning football, and his up and down nature. We're not sure what we're going to get. Um, you know, kids are bouncing around. How I mean, you figure how many quarterbacks that are starting today with transfers, and I mean, I know it's the generation that we have where kids can leave and go to a better situation. But why did the kid have to leave in the first place? And I know the situation at Arizona State wasn't great. But at the same time, this is the same kid that wanted to go to UCLA but couldn't beat out DTR in the eyes of Chip Kelly. So we're not sure. I mean, I like him. I like Jaden Daniels a lot. But there's something that the scouts, the writers, us fans, something that we see that he should be a little bit more polished by now, and he isn't. But he continues to 5-2 is not bad. But you figure the number of talented athletes on the field for LSU at one given time, uh, it comes back down to quarterback play. If I have athletes, I should win. You figure when Joe Burrow went down there, he was like, "This is easy. You didn't tell me these athletes were this good. I mean, sheesh, just throw the ball around the yard and run the football. It sounds easy to us, but I know it's not easy to win a football game. I coach high school football, and it's not easy to win a football game. I know it is not, especially when there's talented guys on the other side. But LSU again, I have a spot in my heart for them. I've always liked the LSU Tigers for some reason. And I just always could never, for the life of me, figure out why they can't have solid quarterback play. And it's something that maybe it's a curse. Maybe it's like the Detroit Lions curse or something, where it just can't happen down in Baton Rouge. But I'm always interested to see if they turn it around, if they prove the naysayers wrong, if they come out and win a ball game that they weren't supposed to win. So today will be just another test. I mean, we figure what better way to continue to change the narrative to win a big game like this when uh I mean some books have them at LSU is a 1 point favorite
Mm-hmm.
versus number 7 Ole Miss, but it goes back to Lane Kiffin. Do people trust Lane Kiffin when he has talent? Is he gonna have his team ready because his track record getting fired in the parking lot and things like that? So it's I'm just pretty stoked that it's a matchup that everybody wants to see, and I want to see it too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I'm gonna try to tune in as long as I can because I'm gonna be at the Boise State Air Force game
Hey,
a few miles up the road here later today. So, I mean, hopefully my Falcons can get to bowl eligibility today. But I
yeah,
mean, on the Ole Miss side, I don't know if Lane Kiffin's really ever had as much talent as he has right now, especially with the two-headed running back system that he's got there. I think they're the only team right now that has two running backs that both have over 600 plus rushing yards.
wow,
So, I mean, that run attack is absolutely filthy. I think I know that they're top five. I actually want to say they might actually even be top three on the ground. So, I think it's going to be a big test as far as LSU's rush defense getting tested because usually they're allowing about 145 a game. But I know on average, Ole Miss, they're averaging almost 200 plus on the ground. Actually, I think they're averaging more yards on the ground than they are through the air. So almost a polar opposite of their state counterparts there in Starkville, just in Oxford. So I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Ole Miss rushing attack goes. I think Jackson Dart's going to have a pretty decent game as well. But I know that Jaden Daniels, he is supposed to be getting his big running back in Armani Goodwin back this week
yeah,
as well. And I haven't heard 100% if Jack Beck is going to be back, but if he's back, that's a huge he's a huge wide receiver threat there for Jaden Daniels as well. So, I mean, again, with this being a 1 point, swing either way, see, and that's where I'm torn too because LSU, I believe that they have a really good team. I think the Tennessee game just showed how good Tennessee really is in
hmm
keeping LSU to only 13 points. And obviously, they had the heartbreaker against FSU. But besides that, I have seen LSU clicking their gears. It seems like Brian Kelly's finally got this offense going to where he truly wants it to go with it now. And then, on the Ole Miss side, Lane Kiffin, God, see, like this one, I could literally flip a coin, and I don't know if I would really be hurt. I really
yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
But I mean, I would probably lean towards LSU myself, simply for the fact, again, it's in Death Valley, and Lane Kiffin, when pressure's on, I don't know what it is, but it always seems like he collapses. I've got a few friends that are Ole Miss fans, and even they're doubting it this week.
yeah.
So, I mean, if you've got number 7, you would think, oh yeah, we're going to do great. We got this game in the bag, and it's kind of scary to see even their fans are a little bit timid with it.
Well, you figure, man. You look at Lane Kiffin, baby faced. I want to say pretty boy, but you got Brian Kelly on the other sideline. You know, just rugged and old school, and you got Lane Kiffin, who reminds you a little bit of Coach Boat wasn't Coach Klein from Waterboy.
Hmm.
He gets a little intimidated, and then he'll hide behind his play chart and just ride off into the sunset and be like, "Oh, I'm glad we got it there." But I'm pretty sure every year he coaches, he gets a little bit better as far as handling the situations. Once again, taking the job down there. I mean, taking his second job down there and getting the rebel to play the way they're playing. I believe he's trying to exercise his demons. But like you said, is he going to clam up or is he going to rise to that occasion? You never know with Lane Kiffin. I know he's going to attack, but then when that attack doesn't work, what's his recourse? What's he going to do now? So let's see. I mean, we always hear the phrase the team is a direct reflection of his coach. Is this going to be a smash mouth team that can actually throw it when they get ready, or will it be a team that clams up and turns the ball over and doesn't make the plays that they're accustomed to making because it's a big game? So we'll see how that goes. It is like you said, comes down to running. Ole Miss averaging 270 while LSU is only averaging 173. That's a whole 100-yard difference on the ball. So it looks like Ole Miss should be able to control the football, control the line of scrimmage. which ultimately usually leads to wins in these tough tight games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they can do that and get that two-headed monster rolling, then, I think Ole Miss really does stand a chance and they should survive. I mean, that I honestly feel like this is their survive and advance week if there was one for them. But another game that, I personally couldn't have told you that we were going to look at it as two teams that are topping the Big 12, and they're both purple. I thought one would be orange, one would be red,
Figure that.
but we've got K-State, sitting there pretty 5-1, going to Fort Worth, and TCU, who's 6-0. I mean, it feels like Adrian Martinez, the other 7-8 year senior wonder boy of the Big 12, as it was.
Call him boy. You can't call him boy. He's a grown man now.
I was going to say, I swear he's got to be like 25, 26 years old at this point. But I mean, just the entire turnaround of Adrian Martinez and everything that he has done ever since he's transferred over here to K-State hasn't been anything short of fantastic, in my opinion. I really do think part of it was the culture of what he was doing within Nebraska, because I know we all, week one, they'd always play like a McNeese State or something like that, or South Dakota State, and they would always fall. And it wouldn't be the fault of Adrian Martinez. It would be, something going on around him that would always cause them to fall. So I think he's in a much better situation down here at K-State. Now, granted, I don't see the offensive fireworks that I did, like, he was playing with up there at Nebraska. But I mean, what do you feel has been Adrian Martinez's strength since he's moved?
Just being given the opportunity to not only use his legs, but, throw it a little bit. Again, experience is probably the best teacher. And coming from an environment where it was pressure, I believe his coach was Scott Frost for the majority of his time at Nebraska. And just the difference in scenery. And I said the same thing about Russell Westbrook for the Lakers. He just needs to play somewhere where the lights ain't on him all the time. So you figure Nebraska, who's the scapegoat? Why is Nebraska not good? And you always go back to the quarterback when it wasn't the quarterback. It's the guys in the trenches. It's the defense. It's the play calling. It's everything, but it always falls back on the quarterback and the head coach. Now you're seeing he can win some games if he's put in a situation to be successful. He's a good quarterback. Now, is he going to play on Sundays? Probably not. But college, he's a solid quarterback. I mean, there's a reason why he was able to, play at Nebraska. There's a reason why he was picked up out of the portal by K-State. So kudos to him for hanging in there. A lot of kids would have given up medical red shirt or something crazy like that. But he's out there, and I mean, shoot, got these boys playing some ball. They're playing a big ball game. So shout out to him, man, for playing through it and getting better. That's my thing, man. When players play, are you getting better or are you the same? And that's kind of what drives me crazy, is when guys get a different opportunity and they don't capitalize on it. You transfer somewhere, new scene, new play calling, new regime. Are you going to take advantage of it? And I think he's taking total advantage of it. So shout out to him for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think he probably epitomizes, a true dual threat quarterback here. Now granted, you look at his numbers, a 62.5% completion percentage, only 900 yards through the air, only 4 touchdowns, but the big number is that 0 in that interception column there. And then you look at his rushing attempts, we've always known him to be the runner. He's got 91 attempts on the ground, but he's got over 500 yards there. He's got those 9 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's a solid dual threat quarterback. He's going to get you your touches. He's going to get his yards, and also so is a Vaughn back there. I mean, I think he's knocking on the door 700 yards. So far. So, I mean, he's had a pretty solid season himself, But I mean, if we want to flip it to the other side here, go to the TCU side, Max Duggan,
Yeah.
and we were just talking about the transfers and how successful they've been. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen one as successful as Duggan's been there in TCU.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. I've always been a fan of TCU's defense, is the way they play with that rover and the speed and the moving around. But offensively, she's no who saw this coming. And again, the style that they've played, it's not been one where you would see them in the top 10 very often, because it's so up and down. And then if you have the athletes to stop what they do, you have the seasons they've had in recent years. But when they creep up like this, it can be a dangerous team. Max Duggan doing what he's doing, that's not something you typically see at TCU. It's surprising. And now that we have them ranked number 8 and a 3.5 point favorite, will they show up, and will they, keep it going? Because once you have that target on your back, and once we start talking about you, like you said about Lane Kiffin, are they going to rise to the occasion? Or are they going to back up into the bushes like Homer Simpson? You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be a step up to the occasion and say, yeah, we are for real? And that's the case. That's the case right here. You got a ranked team coming in, and everybody wants to see it. It's going to be prime time on here on the West Coast. So it's going to be night game out there in Texas. And being in Texas, I think that's going to be the key, is just being the home team. Excited fan base will be energizing to that team. So if they might have any type of let up in the first half, that fan base will keep them going. And the style they play is fast and furious. So I think TCU should be able to come out and continue their path to winning this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you want to talk about Fast and Furious here, averaging almost 46 points a game. That is absurd type of numbers. Now, granted,
Yeah.
again, we always make the joke the Big 12 doesn't know how to play defense. This
Yeah.
isn't a fun style of ball, but yet you look at the rest of the entire Big 12, I don't see any other offense doing what TCU's doing.
Right.
It is absolutely crazy what they're doing. Now, granted, I know last week against Oklahoma State, which has probably been their biggest test, it took them 2 overtimes, to get it done. But, just kind of looking at their schedule the rest of the way, I mean, I think their only other currently ranked matchup is going to be at Texas, in mid-November. Kind of looking at it all, if they could keep this pace going, do we think TCU could actually make some noise here and potentially push into that Big Four? And I
It's
know
gonna be
that would hurt, but
yeah.
I mean, you're sitting here 12-0, obviously probably going to the Big 12 title game, you know, do you really think that they're going to get the respect that they deserve?
I think after they let Cincinnati in, if it wasn't last year, or before last, but if there are only 4 undefeated teams left, and a team like Alabama has 1 loss, it would just be unfair at this point, knowing that we're going to eventually go to an 18 playoff. But it's getting to the point of back in the days, 1 loss teams, you're out. And that's kind of what made college football so great. Now, with the conference championships, you have more 1 loss teams than you've had in the past, because they just kill each other off second time around. They play these teams in the regular season. You come back and play them again in the conference championship. It's hard to beat a team twice. That other team has so much to play for, having lost earlier in the season to that same team. So that's why we have all these 1 loss teams in the bowl championship series. If the Horned Frogs can stay undefeated and get through the gamut of the Big 12 and find some way to have that defense be effective and get 3 stops, like I'm saying, you can win the Big 12 with 3 stops in a game. Like if you have 3 third downs and you get off the field, like it's that bad in the Big 12. If you can stop the other offense from scoring at least 3 times, then it's more of a second half stop. They have a shot. Now, will they get the nod if there are 5? Like if UCLA goes undefeated and TCU goes undefeated, would it come down to who has the stronger fan base and who can make them the most money? Hopefully, it doesn't come down to that. It comes back down to strength of schedule and who deserves to be there and who's the quality of wins, big time wins. With UCLA putting down 4 ranked teams, it'll be hard for TCU to overcome that. Because when the East Coast, Midwest, and East Coast have teams, you figure that's the parity they've always wanted. And when SC is good, the whole season, the whole college football world is better because there's an outside chance a West Coast team can come in and make some noise. So we have, parity across the country. But if they control their own destiny, it goes back to if we don't get selected or not, we still accomplish our goals and won all our games. And they can argue and fuss and claim they were shortchanged, but being a Power 5 conference, if you go through that conference undefeated, you should be in the BCS. But will they perform their side before you get ahead of yourself? I don't know if they can, but they have a small chance, and to see how it goes. But hopefully, things turn out the way that they plan to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I truly think that TCU's probably got one of the better chances. Just kind of looking at their schedule. I mean, because this game against Kansas State ends their 4 straight weeks of ranked opponents. Obviously with Oklahoma, obviously seeing what they did to them and just absolutely sending them out of contention and giving them the nice kick in the pants on their way out to the SEC. And then, the last 2 weeks have been super close. And, I really don't see why this game should be any different. So it'll be interesting to see how they go the rest of the way there. Now, kind of just sticking with the Big 12, and I know I didn't bring this up earlier in my notes, but I was just kind of looking at it earlier. It looks like the Big 12's actually getting some new TV rights finally. So, I mean, with that, obviously, with bringing in Cincinnati and Houston and SMU, what does this do for the Big 12 and their future?
They're trying to save their conference. And when kids have an opportunity to go play in the SEC or the Big 10, how are the Big 12 and the Pac-12 going to survive? And it comes back down to recruits. Can you get the recruits that we want to see on TV? We heard all the hype with Manning, the Manning kid going to Texas, and Arch. I believe his name is Arch Manning. With a name like Arch, I mean, I'm not sure Arch or Kool-Aid was better, Kool-Aid McKinstry or Arch Manning. But you figure with TV deals, that's a big selling tool for kids. Exposure, opportunity to be seen, opportunity to be on television, and be seen by scouts and the nation. So I think that's a huge deal for the Big 12. Will it save them? I don't know. They just need to start recruiting some defense. I mean, get some guys that can play some defense so we'll have games that are actually competitive and not just a track meet. Because I know offense is sexy. Everybody wants to see points scored. But what is the turnoff of the Big 12? Nobody plays defense. Like what are we going to see every week? A track meet. So track season is track season. In football season, we need to see some defense. And then as soon as somebody in the Big 12 learns that, like TCU is learning that, so the TV rights will be a good thing for the conference. Will they be able to sustain the viewership so that those sponsors are happy they've invested their money in this product? It's kind of like the NBC deal with Notre Dame. Is it panning out the way they thought it would? It's a great selling tool. Notre Dame's on TV every week. My kid's not trying to go to Notre Dame. He's not trying to go out there and freeze. He still wants to be in a warm weather state. He still wants to play in a certain conference. So, it's a shot. It's an attempt, but I don't know if it's going to be something that's long term going to be beneficial for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think the Big 12, they've got the right idea as far as, securing some new rights, because I know a lot of people, they were starting to wonder, is the Big 12 going to go under, even with adding teams like your Cincinnati's and your Houston's and things of that nature. So I just thought that was really nice to see. And I know that you brought up Arch Manning And, I know he's going to the same school, I believe, as Peyton did. And now he's breaking Peyton's high school passing records. So, I mean, is the hype behind Arch going to be legitimate? And do we think that that could potentially carry over to Texas once he actually gets there?
I'm gonna jump in and say, nah. I've seen the video. He's good, but he's not even the top 5 quarterback in the country in my opinion. He's a good quarterback, but that last name is huge. That last name is putting him way above the kids that he is actually at the same level of. And I shouldn't have never seen. They should have never released the video. It should have been kept secret that he's playing against these little poop butt JV teams, putting up these numbers. When I've seen kids out here in the Trinity League, when Bryce Young and DJ Ugalele were playing each other in high school, and you saw the talent level they played against, those kids were proven, and that's why they're top guys now. Now Arch Manning he could develop into, but right now he's not the 5-star kid they're writing him out to be.
I was gonna say, I saw you over there nodding your head no. I mean, you want to hop in on this while we have you here?
No, I was actually agreeing. I was nodding my head like I was actually agreeing. I was looking at something over in the outside the room real quick. I was just because I got the TV on for the college football game day. So yeah, man, I'm happy to finally be able to come on the show. It's all about Rocky Top over here right now. So
oh man,
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm finally hopping in and what's going on with the topic so far. I'm ecstatic about this, this week's, knowing that our team, well, Tennessee, we play Kentucky and Georgia in the next 2 weeks after this week. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how my team looked, after being Alabama last week.
Yeah,
that Georgia game, boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say after beating Alabama, I think y'all still gotta sleep it off or finish smoking them cigars or eventually go fish out that field goal post out of the Tennessee River.
Yeah, because that now we talking about donations for a new goalpost. So hopefully we can get a new goalpost. Hopefully, I think we're not even home this week against UT Martin or something of that nature. But we do need a new goalpost by the time we play Kentucky or Georgia.
Yeah.
And then you guys play against Tennessee. What do you say? Y'all play against Tennessee?
Well, UT Martin, Tennessee, or something like that. I looked at the schedule today, and I'm like, I don't even know if I want to watch it. But at the same time, it's college football. You just never know what can happen day by day, week by week. With college football, a team can shock the world. So hopefully, they got off the Alabama high horse. And let's get back to playing football and try to get to that number 1 spot.
Just don't play Appalachian State. That's the team you don't want to play.
No,
Appalachian State
as long as Appalachian State is not on my schedule, I am absolutely fine with Tennessee not having Appalachian State there.
Yeah. Freddie coming through saying he doesn't think Sonny's an actual Tennessee fan.
You know what, Freddie? We're not going to do this because I don't even because I know this is college football a show, but I don't even know if you're a Rams fan, bro. Because last year you was a Giants fan, so that's another story for another time.
The fair weather fan.
Yeah, and Doug was coming through while we were talking about the Arch Manning situation, saying you're right, he's living off of his name. So I think, like you were saying there, Anthony, that there's a lot of pressure carrying that Manning name on your back there. So, and then Martin, I saw that you popped in. So good morning to you as well, sir.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
What's going on?
I think we're all doing pretty good here. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the entire Arch Manning situation?
Oh, well, I haven't really actually kept up with him a little bit. Just heard a little bit about him, here and there. I really haven't really dived into the story, but I just think that he gonna have a lot of pressure. No matter where he goes from college to the pros. I mean, you had Archie, then you had Peyton, then you had Eli. I mean, that's a lot to live up to for a young man. I think, just allow him be himself, allow him, have his own destination for what he want to do for his greatness. That's that's the way I see it. Everybody puts so much stock into the Manning name, but if he doesn't succeed, then what really, how he's gonna feel about it. He might feel like they ain't gotta let the family down or whatever. But you gotta go out there and write your own destiny, and then whether if it be success or not. But I don't know.
Here they go. Here they go.
It says you just became a
I've
Tennessee
been
fan.
I've been a
Where's
Tennessee
your
fan
at?
for the last 15 years, where Alabama could not beat Tennessee in 15 years. This was the first time we
15.
beat them. So please don't do that to me. But
You
I've
said
been a
15.
Tennessee fan since Peyton Manning was there. But I just like not just college football. I like all Tennessee, baseball, basketball, everything Tennessee sports. That's me. I'm not just a one sport person for Tennessee. I watch all of it.
There you go.
You said you was a fan for 15
But
minutes.
I wanted to throw in my thoughts about the whole Manning thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand you have Eli, you have Peyton. You might have some questions about Eli being, great because of his career in the NFL, but he has a great college career at Ole Miss. We could definitely say that. Peyton Manning, same thing at Tennessee. He had a great career, but he had a great career in the NFL. I just think it's time for this guy to come in and make his own lane. Even though he has that name that he still has to live up to, but let him make his own lane to a point where he could pick the college that he wants to go to. Don't pick Tennessee or Ole Miss. Like, if you don't want to go to those two schools, fine by me. He wants to be in. He want to make his own legacy, even though you still have that name Manning on the back, and everybody's like, "Oh, your brother's Eli, your brother's Peyton." Da 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 da. Understanding that, but at the same time, let this young kid make his decisions where he want to go, where he want to play, and make his own decisions. No, I don't want his father or his brothers getting in and telling him this is where he needs to go. It's time for some of these kids in college football. They living off of a NFL player's name, or they family with other people. Oh, you got to go here to be great here. No, absolutely not. So, I just feel like he just need to find his own lane, and he pick the college that you want to go to and be smart about it. But it's still gonna be expectations because of the name.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where he goes, there's going to be expectations. That's why I was saying that. Like he got to create his own lane. He got to see what college is going to suit him. Whether if he went to Alabama, went to Georgia, or went to Clemson, or whatever case might be, he has to make his mark. I mean, fortunately, yeah, his parents and the rest of the Mannings, they gonna have their input. They going to try to, be a little tug of war. Well, you need to go here. You need to go here. Well, this school has this great tradition, or whatever case may be, or this academic school has this better academic program. So he's going to have that pressure, and I'm sure he already have it now. Even though he's still, he's trying to make the best decision for himself. So,
yeah. Now, mind you, he already did make his decision, and he's going to Texas. So I think it's an interesting landing spot for him, simply because you do have Quinn Ewers already there. You already have Hudson Card there. So I mean, that's a very quarterback heavy room there in Texas. So I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he develops, and if he's truly able to take away the game from Ewers, because to be fair, Ewers has done a fantastic job down there. And Card this season's done a very decent job in filling in while Ewers was out injured. But before you two hopped on, we were talking about the K-State TCU matchup earlier, and obviously the other big news with TCU, everybody's finding out that Deion Sanders, primetime, interviewed for the position last season after they had fired Patterson before they had their new coach. And obviously, he addressed it saying, he'd be a fool not to at least listen to the Power 5 conferences if they do come knocking, which it does appear that some have come knocking. So in your guys' opinions, should he stay with Jackson State, truly build it up, or what Power 5 school do you guys think that he would really be the best fit in?
I'll jump in here, man. I'm gonna jump in here because I gotta take off in a few minutes, man. Because I gotta go to football films for high school football. Friday, Saturday morning, watch film. But this is I'm gonna get out of here in a little bit. But I think Prime should stay at Jackson State at least another year or two, as long as he has the kids that he promised that he would be there. So he's building something. Everybody's watching his podcast. Everybody's watching his Twitter and his pregame speeches and his locker room speeches and his last week's speech about expectations. Is resonating throughout college football and high school football about what he's preaching about. What you put into the game is what you get out. He should be teaching his kids these opportunities are going to present themselves. The prime location of obviously is Florida State, because that's where he's from. That's what he's always been, an advocate for is the Seminoles. But it has to be the right situation. But I think if Jackson State can provide the resources for him to be successful, why would he leave? Unless it's his dream to coach at Florida State or Miami or anywhere that he's close to in his heart. But he built something and it's commendable. Now he has to start preaching the idea to his kids that in life you get presented opportunities, that you work hard to establish a namesake, that you can say, hey, not only is a popular person, but he's actually a great coach, a great culture coach, and that he's changed the culture, he's changed the landscape of HBCUs across the board, from the SWAC to the MEAC. So I think he's done his job. And then I think, him being a spiritual guy, he believes this is his calling for this moment. He's not going to stay there more than three more years. I mean, his son's going to come out and go to the NFL. His other son's going to go to the NFL. And at that point, when Travis Hunter goes to the NFL, he's kind of like, I showed you guys a blueprint of how this could work. So at that point, he'll have the green light to go. I mean, he would be foolish not to go see what he can do. So I wouldn't feel bad at all once he, moves up, and that's how it is in the world. I mean, is he selling out? Deion has always sold out to make a better way for him and his people. I wouldn't say it in a negative way. I would just say you have to continue to climb. You can't stay the same. And if no one's going to appreciate him in the SWAC, saying he ain't SWAC, I mean, he has brought more to the SWAC as far as resources and publicity than anybody has since Eddie Robinson Sr. So I just know that when that Florida State phone call comes, and having the experience that he needed. I believe in Florida State was kind of talking to Deion. I'm not sure if they officially offered him when the job was open, but I believe right now they would take Deion Sanders in a heartbeat. So I know if it's not this season, next season he's going to have to entertain that phone call. But for the most part, I think what he's done for Jackson State and HBCUs in total has been nothing but commendable.
I guess I could go and piggyback off that. The Deion situation. I love Deion. He's like he always been one of my signing players to watch. I love when he talks. I love, the stuff that he does. I actually started following Jackson State a little bit last year because of him. Now, I always been big in HBCU schools, but like you said, Deion brought something different there that since Eddie Robinson, and just to see how these kids respond to him and the way he gives out messages, the way he's determined. And I compare Deion's situation right now to Mario Cristobal when Miami was going through all of that situation with Manny Diaz, and we kept saying Miami need to spend money to get the coach that they want. And I think they had Mario on a target, and they just had to create an opportunity to get him over there. I feel the same way with Deion. I think Florida State is going to be that destination. I kind of see Florida State is playing okay right now. They started off a little bit, but now you kind of see a little bit. They kind of like crawling back a little bit. Now it depends on how Florida State finish out this year and next year. I think Deion will stay one more year with Jackson State. And then if Florida State does not make a heavy impact next year or try to, have compete for the Atlantic, well, there won't be no conferences. So it'd be division going to next year. I think Florida State is his ultimate destination. And just like you said, Florida State probably has some talks with him, but they probably waiting out to see what Deion really is going to do. Other schools going to interview him. He's going to take offers to hear other schools, but we all know that him coaching Florida State is going to be the ultimate prize for him. Just like Manny came back to Miami, even though Miami's starting to roll a little bit more. Mario did with the recruiting. I think Deion is going to be a hell of a recruiter. He showed you that down there in Jackson State. So yeah, he's making a blueprint. Now, if anybody follows, that's here or there. I mean, he literally brought an NFL coach from Minnesota to his staff. So that just shows how people respect Deion a lot. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's a rumor that said that Nick Saban might be his last year. Now, don't know who will take over for that. That could be another interesting target, So, but I think at the end of the day, it's Florida State all day for Deion.
Bama ain't hiring no brother.
Right. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm like, babe, what? No.
And exit stage.
But you never know, man. You never know. Things change.
Bear Bryant, roll up his grave right now.
Man, it'd be the first for everything. So.
Exactly. So my like I'm gonna just piggyback on what the both two said. For me, if it's Florida State, it's no other college. That's just how I see it. I feel like if it's not Florida State, he stays at HBCU. I don't care if his sons leave or not. His ultimate goal is to be a Florida State football coach. That's where he came from. He's from that area. That's the only place that's his destination. I don't see him looking at any other. I mean, yes, he's going to talk to other colleges, but he's going to be like, okay, I don't care what Florida State is offering me. If they offer me more than what Jackson State is, I'm going to Florida State. I don't see him at TCU. I don't see him at any other college but Florida State or Jackson State where he's at right now. Now, what I can say about what he has done for HBCUs, he put it to another whole all-time level. Now, if you look at a lot of the players that's in the NFL right now that came from HBCUs, they had great careers too. So I could just see Deion Sanders saying, okay, I'm going to stay at Jackson State or it's Florida State. It's one or the other. I can't see the in between with Deion Sanders going to a TCU or going to hypothetically LSU or something like that. It's out of those two schools, and I feel like he should stay after at least a year after his son leave, just to keep building his coaching staff to be whoever that next head coach is to be in that next spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what makes Deion Sanders so good of a coach, that he really appreciates his assistants. He puts his assistants in place. Like, okay, if I leave here, I can put in a recommendation of which assistant I could put at the head coach to keep this legacy going. That's what I feel like he's so good at for HBCU. And I think all HBCUs should take that approach when you're looking at HBCU, even for college football, even education, no matter what. But when it comes to that, the assistants, that's what he cares about. And he wants his assistants to succeed as well. But yeah, it's Jackson State or Florida State. There's no in between there.
All right, man. I'm being attacked. Before I leave, somebody said I'm getting ready for my L today. Anthony Price. All right, man. $2 bet. The Bruins over the Oregon Ducks at Austin Stadium. $2 bet. Cash out, bro. $2 bet. We gonna win today. We gonna shock the world. We gonna get it in. Hey, man, before I get out of here, man, I want to say rest in peace to a San Jose State Spartan freshman who was killed yesterday, Camden McWright. And he was riding a scooter and he got hit by a bus. Shout out, prayers, condolences to his family, man. My son is a commit to San Jose State, so it's kind of close to home. So 19, you're gonna be 19 in December. I know we have another dev is gonna talk about Westmoreland, but this kid right here is a little bit more for me closer to home because we just saw him a couple weeks ago. So it's tough. Unfortunate. My prayers to the family that they would have some peace right now. This is a very, very tough time. I can't even imagine. My son that I raised, and he went to St. Genevieve's, a team that my son plays against, and he's a private school kid, great student. And unfortunately, I can't even imagine sending my kid to school and he not come home. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't know how that you've done all the right things. So there's no way I can even put a answer or why these things happen. I just pray that family has enough peace to get through this in their time.
Absolutely.
Man. I appreciate you guys, big dogs. I got to get out of here, man. We got films. But y'all, man, it's always fun, man. I'll see y'all next week, man.
All right, take care,
You
man.
know, I'm
Be
picking
safe.
UCLA too because I'm not a big
And-
I
fan of Bo
appreciate
Nix.
that.
And
I'm not a big fan of Bo Nix at Oregon, so yeah.
Ever since
For that.
Mario left Oregon, so I'll go with UCLA over there today.
For Jordan Brand, baby. Jordan Brand. Y'all be easy, man. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey,
Thanks, Anthony.
I'll be right back, guys. Pause for 1 second.
Yeah, no, go do what you gotta do. But yeah,
That's
no,
the big dogs barking. That's what that is.
yeah, they heard that everybody was going for UCLA, so they needed to get their 2 cents in.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, absolutely crazy week. Obviously with losing the San Jose State wide receiver, and losing Sam Westmoreland, the freshman O lineman for Mississippi State.
Yeah, that was.
And it's crazy because I remember talking about this on another podcast that I help out with, we were just sitting there trying to figure out how his situation happened because they still don't have a true cause. They said that there's no suspected foul play, but when they actually found him, he was laying outside of a church down there in Starkville. So there's a lot of uneasiness, a lot of unrest, and obviously a lot of unanswered questions. But I mean, San Jose State, I think they did the right thing, obviously, with it being 24 hours away. They postponed their game. Obviously, hopefully everybody gets their mind right. But I mean, you got to think Mississippi State going into Tuscaloosa later today, they're going to be playing with a heavy heart themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to really be motivation. I know it's a heavy heart, and he was a freshman. I don't know if he was a starter or not, but I think that this is going to be motivation to try to get a win. And this it's unfortunate that these kids was 19 years old. Like, they were not able to see the legal age of 21. Is I don't even look at it as football anymore. It's a person, it's a human being that we lost at the end of the day, a young human being, and it seemed like it's not okay, but it seemed like it's starting to feel like the norm. And I live in Philadelphia, so living in Philadelphia, it seems like it's the norm. We see young talent that playing high school football, playing college football, and they're passing away due to being in the streets or natural causes or something. It's not the norm. It's not fun to see a potential athlete at these ages, and you send them off say we had kids that we had in school. We don't know if they're coming back because of stuff like this. It's more of a mindset thing, and I hopefully they come out in a mindset like, listen, he will want us to play today. Now I understand for San Jose, that's less than 24 hours. You have every right to cancel the game.
Yeah,
but for Mississippi State, they have. I know it's been like a week since this happened.
It's been since Wednesday.
Oh, so I think he will want them to play. He'll want them to play, and I feel as though now they're going to come out with a heavy heart, but at the same time they're going to come out and try to do whatever they can to win the football game. So condolences go out to both families.
Yeah, to the McWrights and the Westmorelands there. So I mean, it's a crazy world, unfortunately, and especially with the Westmoreland situation, I really hope that they find an answer and that we find out that it was just some kind of it was his time rather than finding out that something else bad truly happened to him, kind of like unfortunately with the McWright situation there. But to kind of change the tone, try to bring it back to something a little more happy, but hopefully a little more engaging rather than getting down on a Saturday morning here. Martin, it looks like you got something real quick.
I don't know my man's name in the middle right there.
Just call me Spotlight. Just call me Spotlight.
Sunny Spotlight.
Okay.
You can call me Sunny or Spotlight. In the sports world, they call me Spotlight.
You just said that you from Philadelphia.
Yes.
Are you an Eagles fan?
No.
Okay. Now,
Hold up. Can we change?
no.
Can we change the format real quick so they can see what's in my background? Can we just say you see that
Just
in my
like
background?
that.
Raiders.
Just-
Now,
yes.
that's funny because you from Philadelphia and you rep Tennessee hard, and then you rep the Raiders. I got ridiculed for all these years because I live in the South, but I'm a Miami Hurricane fan and I'm a Washington Commander fan. Now, the only team in the South I like is my Braves. And people say, well, how you do that? I was like, you don't have to live in the same city just to like the same team. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's many people, so you just validate everything that I have been saying, and I salute you for that. That is so much appreciated.
But I have
was
so many reasons why I'm a Tennessee and Raiders fan. Like in high school, this is the school that I wanted to go to, and I never got the chance to do it. So if I never got a chance to go to it, I'm gonna stick with it. So this was the number. This was my dream school to go to was Tennessee. Now Raiders fans. Now, I have been on the West Coast. I have seen Raiders games on the West Coast when they were in Oakland, and I have family out there. So every time, but like I tell this story every time. As a kid, I went to Oakland, California every summer. And when I say my uncles are diehard Raiders fans out there, it's silver or black or nothing. So basically, every time I came back, it's like I cannot be an Eagles fan. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my Phillies, I love my Flyers, and I love my Sixers. It's just Eagles I can't do. I'm sorry.
Anthony Price say a second Washington fan. Oh yeah, we coming up on the Spotlight show. Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. You got to stay tuned because I always have I have two shows. I have four actually. I have one on Monday called the Washington Commanders, the Aftermath. And then I have on the NFC East on Roundtable on Wednesdays. So yeah, I gotta rep my team hard, man, regardless of what they look like.
Facts.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say I'm friends with a lot of Eagles fans, and a whole different variety because I'm out here in Colorado, but originally from Mississippi. So I mean, traditionally, I support most of the Colorado teams. But I mean, outside of Air Force, I'm a Texas Tech Red Raiders fan. So, I mean, I know I catch slack for that. For baseball, Rockies, they ain't nothing. But I grew up watching the Braves. So, but all my friends, they're all like, oh, you just bandwagoning. No, I grew up watching the Braves on TBS Superstation. Well, that was a thing. So,
you telling your age if you talk about Superstation. You telling your age.
Yeah. Trust me, everybody thinks I'm this baby face, like 18-year-old. Nah, man, I'm in the 30s.
I'm up there too. So when you said Superstation, I felt like looking at the old gray cable box with the gray buttons. Yeah, the black box with the gray buttons. Yeah.
Yeah, who could forget the Superstation, TBS, the Superstation.
Yeah, Douglas coming in saying he lives in Memphis. He's a Michigan Wolverines fan and a Dallas Cowboys fan.
And see, that's funny for him to say that because I have followed Michigan football because I have family in Philly and I had an aunt, but she's deceased like years ago and she lived in Harrisburg, and I lived with her. And I don't know, for some reason, I just took the Michigan football because that whole, Penn State and some of Penn State, the young recruits went to Michigan, John Ritchie, I'm a fan of Desmond Howard, all of them guys that went to Michigan. So it kind of stuck with me. So it's like Michigan is like kind of like my second team, but it's just wild, it's people just don't understand the level when you like a team and you follow them for years or you try to go to that school. Doesn't matter where you live at, as long as you rep your team hard. So
absolutely. And I mean, just
we can say that for Freddie too.
Oh my gosh.
Because Freddie lives in Texas right now, right? But he was a Giants fan and now he's a Rams fan. I don't know his college football team.
I wonder how Freddie feeling right now because the Lakers is not doing so good.
We're not gonna be. Let's keep on task because when we talk about the Lakers, we will talk about them for the next hour. So
I gotta check his pulse, see if he's okay.
Man, I think we all gotta check, especially with Westbrook and that 0 for 11 and all that. Trust me, my friend's fantasy team, they collapsed because of that. So but it's fine by me because it put me in the lead. So thanks, Russell. I appreciate you. So, but I mean, just kind of talking about, all the changes and, changing your teams and everything like that. The Oklahoma State starting defensive end or starting defensive tackle decided to say, you know what? I'm done with college ball and I'm ready to declare for the NFL draft, and decided to opt out the rest of the season.
I
Wow.
hate this.
So, I mean, that's what I was going to bring to you guys is, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Like, is it too soon? Because I know we've heard of people opting out for like the bowl games, if it's not the playoff, which I've never been a fan of, because the way I see it, show your worth, show that you're committed to the team. But to do this in the middle of the season, when you're ranked number 11, you still very much have a shot at a Big 12 title and a big time bowl game. What are your guys' thoughts on this? And do you guys think that this could be a new trend going forward?
I see a new trend going forward, but I hate it. I hate it. I hate it even sitting out a bowl game because you want to get ready for the combine. I understand that you don't want to get hurt and you want to attend the combine. So I can see it from that aspect if you're looking like you don't want to play in a bowl game. I can see it from that aspect. But now, what we are like 8 weeks into college football, if I'm not mistaken, why would you do that 8 weeks in? You was committed to this team for 8 weeks and you no longer just want to opt out. Like, I don't understand that. Yes, football is a violent game. Injuries happen, but there's no way you just, I'm going to opt out for the rest of the season. I think that rule needs to be changed. I think it should be just for bowl games, which I'm not a big fan of, but I can understand why they don't want to get hurt in a bowl game and they don't want to lose their draft stock and everything of that nature. But doing it 8 weeks into the season, which the season still is early in college football, because it's really a long season for college football. Because now, in the next, think about it, the next couple of years, it's going to move from 4 to like 8 or 12 in the bowl game for college football playoff. So now you miss out on that opportunity. And then now you just decide not to play. That means you turn your back on your team. You turn your back on your brothers. You turn your back on this staff because you're being selfish, because you want to worry about the NFL only 8 weeks into the season. This has to stop.
Yeah.
Understand again. And then how are you going to get paid with NIL now? Because you're not playing. They only pay you when you play. So now you got these NIL deals, and you're not going to have these deals anymore because they're not going to see your productivity on the football field.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's dumb.
I agree.
Everything you said is spot on, 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because I think to me, if I want an NFL team to watch me, I'm going to play. You know what I'm saying? That helps my draft value, my draft stock go higher, because I can have a big game. I understand the injuries and all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, you was committed to this team. You probably one of the top players at your position, but it affects not just yourself, but it affects the team. You know what I'm saying? Going forward, because sometimes a team goes to a bowl game and that player or players don't play, that team will lose, you know what I'm saying, in a bowl. Then it could affect them in recruiting, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, that's a lot to take in and understand. Me personally, now wherever the committee for the college playoff, because I know they trying to up it in 2024. I think, to me, they should put something into place and say, hey, players can't opt down until their final season, or like their final season of the year. When you going into like sophomore, junior year, and you're trying to opt out just to try to make it, because sometimes you could opt out for the NFL, but that don't mean you're going to get playing time. You know what I'm saying? Because they roster, it's not like college roster. They roster caps at a certain number. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, and then who says you won't get injured in a combine or in preseason game, and then look, you sitting out for another whole year. So play, increase your draft value, and then show them that you are that guy. You know what I'm saying? Be committed to your team. Don't be just opting out because you scared of getting injured. Injury is gonna come where you could walk out your front door and twist your ankle, you injured. So but everything you said spot on. So that's how I feel about it. I think they should find a way to minimize it or do away with it at some point.
Now, just the question for both of y'all: do you feel like college football is given a little bit too much leeway for these players? We understand the NIL deals. You got to pay you got to get these endorsements and you got to play. Now with this whole situation where they can opt out, do you feel like they're giving college football at least a little bit of leeway? Because if you look at college basketball, they could come out after their freshman year. I think, me personally, I think it should be like college football. You should come out after your junior year. That's just me, but that's basketball for you. But for the NFL, do you feel like now these players was asking for, getting paid to play with these NIL deals, and now with them allowing to opt out, is it too much leeway we're giving to these players now?
I do see too much leeway because if you look at it, you got the transfer portal, teams jumping ship. If they feel like they're not gonna get any playing time, they're gonna jump in the transfer portal, go to a school that they definitely could get playing time. The NIL deals had created I guess the word I'm trying to look, it's like a open window for players to like maximize their image a little bit more. Not so much of their capability, that's their production on the field. I think the NIL deal should kind of like instead of do more of the likeness or image, they should do more of the look into your productivity on the field a little bit to help you get. When you do sign an NIL deal, it's a whole complete circle, not just half of the circle. I think like the NCAA, they let them out at freshmen. I think that's a bad idea too, because these players don't develop right. They have to go into the D League, in the NBA and play down there for whoever knows, and then until they get called up for either a 2-way contract or a 10-day contract because of some significant thing happened. So I think that should be junior year. With the guys in the college football, man, it's so hard because the landscape is changing so fast, and it's hard to keep up with it. But I think they need to grab a hold and just look at everything in its totality and just say, hey, okay, this will benefit this athlete right here or the student right here, instead of just allowing them just to jump ship or go. Now, even if they go,
it should be a process of when they do transfer, they do, instead of them like, it should be a process. Like usually with a transfer, I don't know if both of us know, but I remember when college football players got transferred, they had to sit out a year. What I remember. So now they took that away and they're automatically able to play. I feel like they should go back to that. Since everybody wants to transfer to a school, sit out a year, understanding that you might be a sophomore going into your junior year, but you decided to transfer. So it's got to be, or miss at least a couple of games and then come in, but it has to be some type of process there. It has to be.
I agree.
Yeah, and with that, I think the whole reason that the college football landscape, especially with the change from having to wait out a year into being immediately eligible starting that next season, because obviously you can't start 4 games at, say, like an Alabama, transfer to, say, like a Tennessee, and then start right away, because I mean obviously there's going to be issues with that as far as moving playbooks, stuff like that. But I mean, the players, I think they have a right to start right away, simply because look at coaches. They're able to move and transfer whenever they want, and they don't have to wait a year. So I can see where that's coming from on the player side. Now, as far as, the whole leaving early thing, I've never been a fan of it, especially in the case with this player, simply because, I understand he may have been dealing with some kind of injury, but it just looks really, really bad, especially when it's right after their only loss of the season in double overtime. It something just doesn't sit right with me there.
They was competing like I didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess to his credit, it may have been the fact that he was in his 6th year. you know, so maybe he could have just said, you know, he's done. But at the same time, you know, he doesn't have a rating for the draft yet, you know, and we all know that Kuiper and God, who's the other one? McShay.
Michelle, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you know, we know that those ratings are going to come out soon, you know. I mean, I understand he's a 6'2", 295 D tackle, you know. He's making a little bit of an impact. He was supposed to start today, but he hasn't been an absolute world breaker
Right.
or anything like that, because otherwise I probably would have let off today's show with that, you know. So I just think it's interesting, you know, different strokes for different folks. I mean, I hope, you know, after he talked with his family and coaches, you know, if this is truly the right thing, you know, I hope for the best for him. But I really hope that there is something instituted eventually to help prevent these kind of situations in the future, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, just kind of talking about the Oklahoma State, you know, I mean, even with them being number 11, they lose their starting D tackle. Texas is still favored on the road by 6 today. So, I mean, you know, is this going to be an uprise of Texas? Is it going to be a downfall of Oklahoma State? I mean, where do you guys kind of see this game going?
I see it be an uprise for Texas. They still got what's his name? Bijan Robinson or Thompson, the running back.
Bijan Robinson, yep.
Robinson. Okay. They still have him, and I think he's very effective for this offense. I was very impressed when, you know, even though they lost to Alabama, I was still impressed how they played against one of the top teams in college football. So Texas is on an uprise, and then now we're hearing the starting defensive tackle is, you know, opting out and they losing double overtime. How would they react to all of this going into this Texas game? And me personally, I did pick Texas to win this game, not by much, but I feel like I feel like Texas is see, Texas football is finally coming back around the corner. It's been on a downfall the last couple of years, but I feel like now they starting to get a grasp of winning and get a grasp of how to win. Oklahoma State, I think they still coming off of that loss of last year, of the way they lost in their I think it was the bowl game when they missed like by not even an inch in the to loss to that in that football game. So I still think they're coming off of that, even though they're ranked number 11 in the nation. I still have Texas winning this game. They are the underdog, but still, I still like Texas to win this game and, you know, try to move up in the rankings.
I think if Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt in the Alabama game, Alabama would have had 2 losses right now, and we wouldn't
absolutely, and I would have loved it.
we wouldn't even have a discussion about Alabama in the playoffs. And I think Texas would have been in a great position. They would have had probably what? They probably been 6-1 or undefeated. Who knows? But BJ and Quinn is the keys to this Texas offense. Oklahoma State can score, but they struggle a lot and in some areas. Now, I have friends, you know, female friends. They Oklahoma State and one is Oklahoma, so I kind of like, you know, keep up with it a little bit more. But I just think that Spencer Sanders, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, he's gonna have to have a phenomenal game. Even though he's throwing over 300 something yards a game, he's gonna have to have one of them games that's gonna have to take him to about 400 to 500 yards just to offset what Texas could be able to do. Because if BJ Robinson gets it going, and he's already averaging over 100 yards a game, and they definitely they're not gonna have an answer for him. And then Quinn, you know, he's mobile enough. He can run with his legs and stuff like that. So I don't see Oklahoma State beating Texas. Like you said, Texas is on uprise. Like, I rooted for them to beat Alabama. Anybody play Alabama, I root for. But I think Texas is going to be a problem when they get in the SEC. They starting to get to where the level they used to be at. You know, we haven't seen Texas play Texas football. You know, it looked like years they had that glimpse and then they just tail off at the end. But this year, it's something different about them. It's really something different about them that I think if they do win this game, you know, TCU is going to be the thing that they're gonna have to work. They're gonna have to worry about. But unless that, I think Texas will win. I think it'll probably be more than 6 though. I think it'll be more than 6.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I think y'all have got it right on the head. I think the whole Ewers and Robinson connection, I think that they're gonna do absolutely fantastic. Now, mind you, we do know that Oklahoma State can absolutely rack him up. I mean, they're averaging over 45 points a game right now. So, I mean, we were talking about earlier, the Big 12, what is defense? That always seems to be their calling card. But, Texas in their last season, they're showing that they have some defense, and they're only allowing, a little over 18 points a game. So I really think it's going to come down to that side of the ball. I think that Richardson on the Oklahoma State side, their running back, Dominic Richardson, I think he's going to need to get going. I think he's really going to have at least 100, maybe at least 125 yards today just to keep, Texas honest. Try to keep it out of Ewers' hands, keep it out of Robinson's hands. But I do agree. I think that Texas is on the rise. I think Sarkisian has the right idea. He's got the right coaching staff in mind there. And I mean, shoot, we're an extra point and a Robinson fumble at Texas Tech away from seeing Texas being undefeated. So it's not like Texas lost those 2 games and got absolutely slaughtered, unlike their other counterparts who are also joining the SEC next year there. So, but I mean, I'd be shocked if Texas didn't win this one. But, I mean, Oklahoma State, we know that they can put up points. So, I mean, I could easily see this being, like a 49-42 shootout type game quite easily. So, but I know you guys were talking about the playoff, and I actually kind of want to end today's or this week's episode with that.
Okay.
Because the committee did have their meeting. They're still not sure when they want to get the 12-team playoff. So we still have hope that it gets here by 2024, which would be nice. But for this year, we still got to deal with the 4. But just kind of looking ahead, if we did have a 12-team playoff, how would you, right now, if you had to pick your 12, how would you seed them, and where do you think it would end?
That's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough.
I'll take a stab in the dark at this one.
I wish I could have analyzed this before this actual topic came up, because I don't think 12 is too many. I think 12 is, because I'm reading Anthony Price's comment. I don't think 12 is too many. I feel like I mean, you do the best 12 teams in college football. You got to look at the strength of schedule. You have to look at what quality wins that these 12 teams have to be in this playoff. Because people like say, 1-12 right there. But sometimes people be at number 10 and they supposed to be at number 20. And so it's really a lot to go into that. As of right now, I can't say a 12, because I got to actually look at the teams at this point when it comes to doing 12. So, I mean, of course, I think the top 4 they got right so far, even though Ohio State's 1. I think Ohio State is 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think they are.
They're number 2 right now.
They're number 2. Tennessee's 3, and Clemson is 4. No, Clemson's 5, right?
No,
Michigan's number 4.
Michigan's number 4.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think they got it right so far when it comes to the top 4. But you always know it never happens. Alabama keeps winning. They're gonna try to put them back in the playoffs some way, somehow. So you see what? So it's kind of hard to really pick a 12, because now Alabama could win out and they could be in the top 4 or be in the top 12. So yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm gonna have to come back to that question for me.
Okay.
All right. I'll take a stab at this, because I have I've been covering the realignment stuff for the last 2 seasons and everything in the playoff scenario. So I have a really descriptive thing in my head. I think 8 will be perfect.
Okay.
Or even 10. And if it's 10, then you have 2 teams that's not Power 5. Like, you have your Cincinnati's, and some of them might have a chance to get in. That would be perfect, because then you get to have more spotlight on these teams than they never had before. Now, the division winners always going to get in, and the second tier, whoever that may be. 12 will harbor too much because a 2-loss team could still get in. That's the issue you're going to face, because even though, say this year we had 12, Alabama loses 2 games. Alabama could very well lost 3 games. The Texas A&M, the Texas game. How would that fold? Then you have 2 teams from the SEC, probably 1 for the ACC, probably 2 teams from. Go ahead.
So you said even if Alabama, even though they make the 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they'll play against teams that they never played against before. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because with Alabama, as a Tennessee fan, this is my problem with Alabama. You notice when they play good teams, they struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at their strength of schedule is not that good the first 6 weeks.
No.
They play nobody.
No.
So now you have the top 12, and now they play a team that they never seen before and probably get knocked off.
Yeah.
So we seen it happen last year. They got knocked off last year about in the college football playoff. They went to they actually lost the national championship, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, they lost to
Georgia. So but we'll see something different. That's why I think why they put the 12. They want to see those teams that don't get a chance. They could compete. See if they can compete with the Alabamas, the Tennessees, and the Texas of the world. So that's why I feel like they put the 12 in place. That's why I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree with you saying, because the thing about it is that with 12, the strength of schedule has to be different. They're gonna have to take off some of them cupcake teams and start playing some teams that could give you a challenge. I mean, you got Clemson plays hard teams in the beginning of the year. You got Georgia scheduling their first game of the season. Alabama, they gets off, they probably play somebody that really ain't got a good record, you know what I'm saying? That the name might sound catchy, but then, or they might not even travel to that place, you know what I'm saying? You had Oregon traveling 2 years straight. They went to Columbus, knocked off Ohio State. They played Georgia, but they got the brakes beat off them. But if you willing to travel, if you that good, then travel to a hostile environment and play. Make it tough. Don't make it easy. Say, Alabama is the top team in the nation because they got to play this gauntlet in the SEC. But sometimes some of the teams in SEC doesn't stack up because they could have an off year. Now, this year, you got Tennessee that looks every bit that could probably get into the national championship the way they played against Alabama. You got Georgia there. Alabama is kind of like they there, but would they lose again? That's a thing. I mean, today could be another trap game for them. They lose. So there's games that Alabama doesn't look like Alabama. And other teams are starting to, if you look at the landscape of college football, everybody's starting to seem like they're catching up to Alabama now and starting to put themselves a little bit above everything else. So yeah, with 12, I think it'll definitely work. You know what I'm saying? Because you get teams to play each other that you never had before. But I think they should, if they're gonna go that route, they need to make sure that some of that scheduling, you take off some of them cupcake teams. I know some of them teams, the low schools want to make the money and stuff, but guess what? I ain't want to be cynical or something, but hey, you're gonna have to make it somewhere because this is you talking about big boy college football with 12 teams in there, and you want to see the best of the best play each other, and you want to see the strength of schedule play out the way it's supposed to be. Because if you have 3 or 4 teams on your schedule that ain't, that's lower, then the argument of strength of schedule doesn't even pan out right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, one thing to take into consideration with this is that the first 6 teams are all guaranteed to be conference champions. So it's the 6 highest ranked conference champions. So it's not like we're going to see, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee take the top 3 spots. they're purposely saving those 6 for conference champions, which means we are guaranteed at least one group of 5 champ to at least get some kind of recognition and at least a home game. But then after that, those next 6 spots are for the 6 highest or for the next 6 best teams.
I kind of like that. The fact it reminds me of the NFL a little bit. If you look at the playoffs where you win your division, you're getting technically an automatic spot when you win your division. So I like that they're doing that, and they're not just picking 12 teams just because if they win the conference or not, or when they win their conference championship or not. So I definitely like that your first college football team that win their conference championship and they could get in. And then the question is, what is the process for the next 6? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think the top 2 gets a bye week.
It'll be the top 4.
Okay. So then,
Yeah, so the 5 would pay to 12, 6 would play 11, 7, 10, 8, 9. And then I believe from there, they reseed it, and then the lowest remaining seed plays the number 1, and then they just kind of go down from there.
Okay.
So, but I think it'll be an interesting outlook. But I kind of like what you guys were saying with Alabama, a potential 2-loss Bama. I mean, this does open the door for some 2-loss teams. But I do think you guys are on the right track in that, this should finally stop the cupcake scheduling, because I'm tired of seeing Alabama playing like Austin P or UT Chattanooga or, some completely obscure school that they paid, millions of dollars to, which, kudos to the little schools. I understand that they need the funding, but, if you are truly one of the best, do what Oregon's doing. Go play teams on the road. Go play teams at neutral sites.
Right.
Make it worth it. Make it so that the committee cannot deny you.
Yeah, exactly. That's my whole deal of it, because I'm so tired. We I don't know how old y'all guys is or anything, but back in the day, that's how it was. You play hard teams. You get out there and you got Nebraska, Oklahoma, you got Miami, Penn State, you got Notre Dame, all of them, Colorado when they used to be good back in the day. So you got all these teams used to gut it out, play each other out in the ranking. You don't have that now, and them cupcake schedule. It just makes it to me, it gives a bad look to truly how good these teams really are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, Tennessee, I understand they're playing a UT Martin today. So I mean, I'm okay with like 1, but don't give me like 3. Don't do it the Alabama
I'm tired of playing
way.
Ball State the first week every year. I'm tired of Tennessee doing that.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, if anything, honestly, give me Tennessee and Kentucky week 1.
I'm
Make
down for
that
that.
a new rivalry.
Yes.
Make it worth something. Because week 1, I know a lot of teams are like, oh yeah, we need to warm up. Nah, if y'all are that good, and then go show it week 1. Go show that, hey, you're worth that number in front. Now, granted, personally for me, I don't think there should be any rankings until October, because then this way nobody comes in with a big head and nothing like that. And then you actually have to start looking at these other schools, start scouting them and being like, okay, who's actually better? Who's beating up on who? And then ranking it then. And then rather than just like, oh, they're number 1. Here, go play South Alabama at home and be favored by 55 points. Like, no, nobody wants to see that.
They better not let me ever in the committee to be doing their own voting. I'll be like, oh man, because it's just like some of these teams, when I see them being ranked, I'll be like, okay, all right. It's some favoritism going on somewhere around there,
Cough, Notre Dame.
Yeah. So it's like Notre Dame. I don't know. I guess I can ask y'all this. Me personally, I think even though Notre Dame getting the money, being independent, but I think with this college playoff, I really believe it's going to hurt them, because if they don't find a way to start winning to make their independency look really legit and everything like that, and they fall by the wayside, it's going to, I mean, it's going to force them see if they're going to end up playing in the conference. Now, the Big Ten has been calling. I know they got ties to the ACC. They're one of the two teams that I feel like they could fit both in there because they play some of the same teams, even in basketball. But I think Notre Dame has to make a decision, because if they keep playing the way they're playing, there's no chance that they're going to ever make it to the playoffs. You know, if they do make it, they squeak in just barely. But the way things looking, I think a conference would serve them better.
Mm-hmm. I think it would give them more sturdy competition. I think it would give them a better look. And I understand why they stay independent, because they have that NBC contract money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can claim that, hey, we are the only true independent. You know, if we scout you, we can promise you that we'll play a game in your home state. And they have that ability to schedule whoever, whenever. Now, unfortunately, this year, it just happened to be that you caught the CJ Stroud buzzsaw week 1. And then, I'm sorry, but I still have to laugh that you lost to Marshall at home, and you were supposed to be number 5. It's just mind-blowing to me how some of these rankings come to be. So, but, I mean, I agree. I personally think they'd probably be a best fit in the ACC, simply because I know they were playing Big East in the basketball, but I know that they have the ACC affiliation already. You know, why not just connect it? You know, we could still get Notre Dame Clemson. You know, we could still get Notre Dame Florida State. You want to talk out of conference? Cool. Go play USC. That's your big out of conference game.
That was the rivalry game back in the day, man. I love watching those games.
Exactly. Or, you know, the Notre Dame Stanfords. You know, things of that nature.
Notre Dame, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, you have the name. Just align yourself with the conference. There's your out of conference schedule, and boom, there's no cupcakes for you. Prove your legitimacy. So, but maybe that's just me. So, but
no, I agree. I agree 100%.
So, I just think it would be the best fit for him.
Yeah.
But okay, so instead of 12. How do you think the 4 will look at the season's end? If you had to call it right now, you know, just look into the future. I understand your affiliations with whatever school you may have. Put them to the side.
I'm nervous right now. As a Tennessee fan, I know we played UT Martin, knowing that people think that's a walk in the park game. But the next 2 weeks after that, we have Kentucky and Georgia. That's gonna be another challenge for us after, you know, people say, oh, the high horse, we beat Alabama. Cool. But now Georgia is right up there. They're the number 1 team in the nation at this point. Kentucky is a very competitive team in the SEC in itself. The top 4 by the end of the year, I would not be surprised if Ohio State and Georgia is at 1 and 2, due to the fact that Ohio State's schedule stinks. People can say what they want. They almost lost to a Notre Dame team we just talked about that's not really that good. So thank you, Ohio State, for not covering the spread on that, because you lost me $1,500. Try to do that. So yeah, I have something to say. Thank you, Ohio State. I almost won $1,500 because you didn't cover the spread. Thank you so much, Ohio State. But Georgia's schedule's it's been pretty weak as well. If you look at it, so. I still see them at 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is going to be what's going to happen with Tennessee, what's going to happen with Michigan, especially when Michigan plays Ohio State this year. That's going to be something to watch for. And like I said, for Tennessee, is going to, you know, those next 2 games, and who's going to jump to those 3 and 4 if one of our teams lose. So it's going to look really good right now. I still have it as Tennessee 3 and 4. Now, and I'm taking my fandom completely out of it. I just like what Tennessee has done offensively with one of the top scoring offenses in the nation. And it's just the way they play is just so fast. I just don't like. And then Michigan, they have a good running game there. And their quarterback is okay for Michigan. It's just that for me, I don't know. It's something about the Big Ten. Their schedules is not really that best. Yeah, they beat Penn State last week. understanding that. But Big Ten schedules for college football has been pretty shaky with me. So I can see it being a 4 right now until otherwise. But I can see a few teams. I could definitely see a few teams jumping up, especially if TCU keeps playing the way they keep playing. I can see what after the loss to Utah, I can still see Utah try to hop in there, USC try to hop in there. So you can see some other teams in this top 4. So it's gonna be very interesting to watch in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I do believe it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, I think most of this is going to tie to Alabama. Is for some reason why, because if Alabama ends up with another loss, that knocks them completely out. Then the race is completely on for anybody. So even if Tennessee was to lose to Georgia, they still possibly could get in because their signature win is Alabama. Then it comes down to Ohio State and Michigan. How well Michigan play against Ohio State. If they upset them and win the Big Ten, say if they upset them last game of the season, then most likely they'll play again play again. And then if Ohio State beats them in the Big Ten championship game, then what do you do with Michigan that has that signature win at the end of the season because they already beat Ohio State? So these signature wins is what's going to propel these teams to get into that 3-4 spot. I think Georgia clearly is, until proven otherwise, they are the number 1 team. Ohio State is a 2. 3 and 4 is a toss because, like you said, you got Utah, you got TCU, you got USC, or UCLA too. I don't think Clemson will make it. Even though they rank up there, I don't think they're going to make it because to me, I don't see Clemson as that strong. I think Syracuse could have them today. If Syracuse plays, Wake had them. Dead right. Wake had them. NC State could have get them. So if Syracuse was to knock them, now, yeah, Clemson will probably win the ACC, but what is they going to be their signature win to get them over the other teams? They don't. To me, I don't see them having any. And some people will say, well, if Clemson don't get into the playoffs, then they felt robbed. No, because the other teams play way better. If I put Clemson and Tennessee on the field right now, I guarantee Tennessee will beat them handily. There ain't no question about that. If you put Clemson against Georgia, they getting dominated. So you put them against a TCU team, that'd probably be a close game, but TCU might find a way to get them. So to me, matching Clemson up against teams, and I know I'm an ACC guy, but I call it as real as it is. I don't think Clemson is as that strong to go up against them teams that I just named and going in to beat them for that spot. You know what I'm saying? So the 3 and 4 spot is a toss up, but I'm like I said, I'm rooting for Tennessee to get in there. I would love to see them get in there because I think they're gonna cause the most noise, no matter who's in that playoffs. They could cause the most noise because guess what? They have shown they could go and beat you, and a lot of teams are gonna have to be prepared for that. So, and you think Georgia ain't looking 2 weeks from now? I think I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had it on mute real quick. But Tennessee scores pretty quickly in college football. And I think college football is not really used to how quick Tennessee scores and how they just go right to the line after the next play. That tears down defenses. Like Alabama's defense was tired when we played them. They were worn out, even though that our defense gave up so many points in the second half, which I'm still a little concerning about our defense. But yeah, I think offensively, we could definitely make some noise in the playoffs offensively.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick my 4 right now, as much as I want Tennessee because I love parity, I just see Georgia beating you guys and kind of blocking your way to the SEC championship. So I would have Georgia at 1. I truly think that I actually don't have Ohio State in mind because I think Michigan will beat them. And I think Michigan will win the Big Ten. I think this is their year to run the table, and I actually have them as my 2. And then for my 3 and 4, and I'm just strictly looking at scheduling and things of that nature, I only see two other teams running the table, and that is TCU and UCLA.
Yeah.
So even with Alabama just run the table with the one loss, you still don't see them in the 4.
No,
No.
I like
they'd
your
have
thinking.
because they'd have a second loss to Georgia in the SEC title game.
Yes, I love your thinking. I love
Yeah.
it. I can't stand Alabama. I love it.
Well, and it's not even that. It's just I don't think Bama could keep up with Georgia. And again, all the respect in the world to Tennessee, but like Martin was saying, until proven otherwise, it's Georgia's world, and we're just living in it.
Yeah.
UCLA, I think they are the Pac-12's best shot, and I think that DTR with Chip Kelly running that offense, I think they are going to be absolutely fantastic. And TCU, just the way that they're beating teams, outside of the Oklahoma State game, which that right now that is a great win. And I just don't see any other Big 12 team really matching up with them anymore. I was hoping that was going to be Kansas, because I'm sorry, I wanted to know 7 chaos here and see Kansas at 1, but I didn't get that. So, but I mean, I'm just looking at the rest of their schedule the rest of the way, and I just don't see how any other team other than Texas mid-November, I think that might be their only hiccup. And but if they can clear Texas, I don't see how you can deny TCU.
Oh yeah,
Because at that point they'd have 5 ranked wins, and including a conference championship on top of that. If they run the table, I just think that they would have a better resume.
Yeah.
Now that I can agree with, but my only problem with college football is that they're going to try to find some way somehow to not get TCU in that top 4. They're going to find some way somehow.
Yeah,
I love the analogy that you put out the right resume for TCU. It's just the committee that I can't stand, because they don't give TCU enough respect because of the conference that they're in.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I agree. But I mean, the upside is that there's been a lot of surprise players with the Big 12. And the thing is, if you look at everybody's record, there's only one team that is below 500 in that entire conference right now. So, just something to consider. But I think that is really it that I had for today, guys. It's been a fun couple hours.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I enjoy it.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, wish we could do it for 3, but I know that they want us to try to keep it to 2. So
yeah, I can understand.
But I know everybody's got to get their shows in. So, Martin, is there anything you wanted to sign off on before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want my Hurricanes, the beat Duke, continue to improve that team. We starting to get back healthy now, so that's something I'm looking forward to in the next couple of weeks. We should have Jacoby George back today. Streppo is like another week and a half away, so the offensive line should be a little bit stronger. But I'll definitely be dialing, locked in, watching some of these big games today, and hopefully root for Syracuse to beat Clemson. So that'd be my elixir for today.
There you go.
Well,
Sonny?
speaking of Syracuse, shout out to my guy Elijah Clark that came from Camden, New Jersey. He transferred from Illinois to go to Syracuse. So shout out to him. He's been playing very well with this Syracuse defense. And shout out to his father that I coach with back in Camden, New Jersey. So shout out to them. Hopefully they can get the win over Clemson as well. I am picking Syracuse to take Clemson out. I think Clemson is very overrated. In my opinion, they should not be number 5 in the nation. Just from seeing other teams that's better than them on paper, I just feel like Clemson is not a number 5 team in the nation. That's just my opinion there. And on the Spotlight Sports Network, if you want to come check out at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll have the Commitment to Excellence Raiders podcast. That'll be going on the Spotlight Sports Network. We have a lot of shows going on over there as well, so make sure y'all tune into that.
Awesome. And then, for me, I mean, like I said, I'm out here in Colorado, so I'm hoping Air Force could beat Boise State again, get bowl eligible, get up to 6-2. Because the rest of the way, if we can run 10-2, it'd be nice to get to a bigger bowl than just the Cheez-It Bowl. but hey,
Mhm.
I can't be asking for too much more than that. So obviously for everybody here, for Anthony, Martin, Sonny, and myself, this has been the Big Dogs on Campus. We appreciate y'all. We will see you next week for week 9, and then we'll only be 3 days away from the first college football playoff rankings. But until then, enjoy your college football Saturday, everybody.
All right. Bye.